When was the last time you grabbed a family block of chocolate from the Woolies or Coles confectionery aisle, tossed it into your trolley without a second glance, and just trusted what was on the front? You get home, snap off a row, and something feels off. It leaves a waxy, greasy slick across the roof of your mouth that hot tea cannot wash away. It melts into a grainy paste rather than a velvety pool, or it burns the back of your throat with sickening sweetness instead of rich cocoa. You tell yourself your taste buds are changing as you get older. They are not. The chocolate bar you buy today across Australia is fundamentally not the product you grew up eating. You are paying more cash at checkout, getting fewer grams in the packet, and nobody sent an email warning you about either. That is not even the shadiest part. Some iconic sweet treats on Australian shelves are no longer, under our food regulations, permitted to call themselves chocolate at all. By the end of this teardown, you will know precisely which 8 household brands to leave on the shelf and 5 genuinely honest bars that still hold the line. I will show you the exact legal loophole in the Food Standards Australia-New Zealand Code that lets food conglomerates swap real cocoa butter for cheap industrial vegetable oil while charging luxury prices. We will crack open the lab breakdowns, shrinking net weights, and sneaky recipe reformulations designed to fleece your weekly grocery budget. Stay until we hit the #1 most trusted brand near the end, because what corporate boardrooms have done to Australia's favourite staple will make your blood boil. Before naming manufacturers, we need to understand how real chocolate is actually made and how industrial food chemistry quietly sabotages it. Real chocolate is one of the simplest culinary feats on earth. It requires fermented and roasted cocoa beans ground into cocoa mass, combined with pure cocoa butter, a touch of sugar, and milk powder for milk chocolate. Cocoa butter is the miraculous ingredient. It is a natural plant fat with a razor-sharp melting point right around 34 degrees Celsius, just below human body temperature. When real cocoa butter hits your tongue, it undergoes an instant phase transition from a solid snap to a silky liquid, absorbing heat from your mouth to create that luscious, cooling melt. Industrial mass production hates real cocoa butter because it is volatile, expensive, and subject to global harvest shocks. Processing cocoa butter demands precise factory temperature control, known as tempering, to align its fat crystals into a stable form. If an engineer gets the temperature wrong by half a degree, the chocolate blooms into an unappealing, chalky grey mess. So corporate accountants asked a straightforward question. Why pay for expensive, temperamental cocoa butter when you can chemically extract cheap palm oil, shea butter, or hydrogenated vegetable fat and pump the mixture with hyper-refined cane sugar? When a factory substitutes cocoa butter with palm fractions or vegetable oils, the physical structure collapses. Vegetable oils have a completely different molecular profile. They do not melt cleanly at 34 degrees. They melt either too early into a sticky goo in your pantry or too late, coating your mouth in a persistent film resembling candle wax. To mask that oily mouthfeel and the absence of cocoa depth, manufacturers dump in artificial vanillin, sodium compounds, and mountain loads of sugar. In a standard cheap block today, sugar makes up more than 55% of the total weight. You are essentially buying an expensive bar of solid confectionery syrup dyed brown with cocoa residue. Food Standards Australia-New Zealand sets legal definitions for what can sit behind the word chocolate. Standard 2.8.1 mandates that milk chocolate must contain a minimum of 25% cocoa solids. If a manufacturer drops below that threshold by loading up on vegetable fats and fillers, they are legally stripped of the right to print the word chocolate on the front panel. But instead of fixing the recipe, marketing departments simply rewrite the label to read chocolate-flavored compound or confectionery coating, knowing full well you are in a rush and will never spot the difference. That deliberate game of legal hide-and-seek is happening across our supermarket aisles right now, and the 8 brands we are about to pull apart are the worst offenders. Let us start tearing down the 8 brands you need to leave on the shelf, ranked strictly from the sneaky to the absolute worst offenders in Australian retail. Number 8. Maltesers, Easter eggs and gift boxes by Mars Wrigley. Mars markets these boxes at Coles and Woolies as the ultimate generous treat for family gifting. The packaging is massive, glossy, and engineered to look like a treasure chest of confectionery. In early 2026, consumer advocacy group Choice ran an investigation comparing seasonal confectionery across Australian supermarkets. The Maltesers gift format was quietly cut from 230 grams down to 194 grams, while the ticket price at Coles shot from $8 straight to $10. That is a 36% surge in price per 100 grams. You never notice because the cardboard exterior did not shrink by a single millimeter. Mars did not alter the box volume, they simply expanded the internal plastic vacuum insert and widened the empty cavity inside. You are paying $10 for 50 grams of puffed air and a handful of malt balls. One verified review on Product Review stated, "Opened the gift box on Sunday morning and half the internal plastic tray was completely empty. It is pure deception." When you buy this, you are not paying for cocoa. You are paying a premium to transport oversized packaging from a supermarket shelf to your recycling bin. Number 7. Terry's Chocolate Orange, distributed throughout Woolworths, Big W, and IGA. For decades, the entire brand identity has rested on a tactile family ritual. Whack it on the bench, unwrap the foil, and break apart the individual slices. Research tracking grocery shrinkflation found that the Australian retail price per 100 grams for Terry's Orange has jumped by over 110% across the last 5 years. In the latest manufacturing run, the ball lost another 12 grams, dropping down to 145 grams while holding a firm $6 shelf tag at Woolies. 12 grams sounds minor until you realize chocolate oranges are divided into discrete physical segments. By taking 12 grams out of the total mass, the manufacturer did not make the slices thinner. They literally subtracted an entire segment from the sphere. When you share it around the living room, one person misses out entirely. The foil looks identical, the cardboard box has not moved, but the ritual is being sold back to you one missing slice at a time. Number 6. Kinder Surprise by Ferrero. Positioned as the harmless checkout treat for children across Coles, Woolworths, and service stations, this product sells anticipation rather than substance. The chocolate shell is paper-thin, containing barely 20 grams of actual confectionery, but priced at $3.50 per egg. That works out to an astronomical $17.50 per 100 grams, making it gram for gram more expensive than premium imported Swiss chocolate. When the UK Health Security Agency and European food regulators linked multi-country salmonella contamination to a faulty processing filter in Ferrero's Central European manufacturing plant, it triggered widespread recalls that hit Australian shelves right before the peak Easter holiday rush. As food safety auditor Dr. Martin Evans noted during the investigation, the issue was the operational latency between internal detection and consumer notification. Parents across Australia were left checking pantry batches against government recall notices after their kids had already consumed them. You are paying luxury prices for a millimetre of ultra-sweetened milky fat wrapped around cheap plastic toys. If you are already itching to check your own fridge and pantry right now, hit that subscribe button, because the corporate cost-cutting only gets rougher from here. Number 5. Cadbury Favourites and Celebrations Tubs. These plastic sharing tubs are staple fixtures across every Australian Christmas and footy finals gathering, sold aggressively at half-price specials in Coles and Woolworths. The entire concept is communal indulgence. In 2021, a standard tub held 520 grams. By late 2025, the standard format on shelf was shaved down to 440 grams, while the standard non-promotional shelf price climbed from $12 to $16. That represents an effective price hike of more than 58% per 100 grams. When you eat from a tub over several days, your brain cannot track the missing 80 grams because you never weigh a communal bowl. You simply notice that by the second evening, nothing is left except a few lonely Turkish delights and hard caramels. Mondelez and Mars Wrigley engineered these tubs with raised false bottoms inside the plastic mold, giving the illusion of a full container while reducing the internal payload by nearly 20%. It is the textbook definition of stealth shrinkflation. The ticket goes up, the payload drops, and the plastic container maintains the exact same visual footprint on the coffee table. Number 4. Nestlé Aero and Milky Bar sharing blocks. Nestlé is one of the largest food conglomerates on Earth, dominating the everyday chocolate aisle in every Coles, Woolworths, and IGA in Australia. If you examine a block of Aero Bubbly or Milky Bar today, you will notice the net weight has slid down to a flimsy 118 grams, sold for $5.50. That translates to over $4.60 per 100 grams for a product that is mostly air or sugar. Aerating chocolate allows a manufacturer to replace expensive solid mass with injected gas pockets, charging you solid chocolate retail prices for bubbles. Furthermore, independent lab breakdowns of mass-market white confectionery reveal that Milky Bar contains zero cocoa mass and relies entirely on condensed milk, sugar, and vegetable oil blends. Nutritionist Claire Sorensen recently observed, "These aerated blocks provide a fleeting hit of sweetness that dissolves instantly, leaving a greasy palm oil coating without any cocoa satiety." Nestlé blames global input costs, but their operating margins tell a completely different story. They found a way to package industrial air, slap a beloved legacy name on the front, and charge you $5 a pop. Number 3. Nestlé Kit Kat Chunky and Toffee Crisp imports. Kit Kat is an Australian lunchbox icon, manufactured locally and imported in various specialty formats. However, across recent production cycles, Nestlé quietly altered the fat formulation in its heavier coated bars. By substituting a significant fraction of pure cocoa butter with fractionated palm oil and shea kernel oil, the outer coating dropped below the standard threshold for pure cocoa butter richness. In trade publications, manufacturers openly justify these recipe shifts by citing extreme cocoa commodity spikes in West Africa, where prices surged past $11,000 a metric ton. But look at what happens on the Australian shelf. The price tag at Woolworths did not stay frozen to reflect the cheaper oils. You are paying $5 for a sharing 4-pack where the rich snap of cocoa butter has been replaced by a chewy, waxen fat layer that coats your teeth. As one retail reviewer on Choice Community noted, the chocolate on Kit Kats used to snap cleanly. Now it bends, smears like grease, and leaves a sickly sweet film in your mouth. It is a calculated compromise where the brand equity remains, but the actual ingredients are stripped down to industrial commodities. Number 2, Arnott's Tim Tam and Wagon Wheels. Let us talk about Australia's most revered sweet biscuit. Arnott's Tim Tam is cultural royalty, sitting in the pantheon of national snacks alongside Vegemite. For years, the packaging proudly boasted about the rich, thick, real chocolate layer encasing 2 crunchy biscuits and cream. But turn over a modern pack of standard Tim Tams bought from Coles or ALDI and read the ingredients list carefully. You will find vegetable oil, palm oil, and shea oil listed prominently right alongside cocoa butter. Under Food Standards Australia-New Zealand Standard 2.8.1, real chocolate must derive its fat exclusively from cocoa butter, allowing only strictly limited amounts of specific vegetable fats. By leaning heavily into palm fractions, the outer coating of modern mass-market chocolate biscuits has shifted from a snap into a soft, oily smear that melts prematurely on your fingers in warm Australian weather. Arnott's knows that 60 years of nostalgia will prevent 99% of shoppers from ever inspecting the back panel. They rely on your childhood memories to sell you a product heavily diluted with cheap tropical oils. Number 1, Cadbury Dairy Milk. This is the single most purchased, most trusted chocolate brand in Australian history. The iconic purple block has sat in our pantries for over a century, built upon the legendary marketing promise of a glass and a half of full cream dairy milk in every 200 grams. Here is the absolute truth about what sits inside that purple foil today. Under Australian food regulations, the definition of milk chocolate allows products to meet a minimum cocoa solids threshold of just 25%. But Australian Cadbury Dairy Milk formulations have systematically integrated vegetable fat blends, specifically palm oil and shea oil, to cut manufacturing costs while maintaining high production volumes. Mondelez did not stop at altering the fat matrix. The classic family block, which Australians bought for decades at 250 grams, was cut to 220 grams, then slashed to 200 grams, and now sits at a shrunken 180 grams in Coles and Woolworths. Meanwhile, the standard shelf price was aggressively driven up from $3.50 to $6.50. That is an astonishing price increase of over 120% per 100 grams in less than 4 years. When Choice tested consumer sentiment, Dairy Milk ranked highest in brand trust, while simultaneously showing one of the steepest declines in product mass across the entire confectionery aisle. When you break a piece off a modern 180-gram Dairy Milk block, it no longer has that crisp snap. It has a doughy, sticky bite that dissolves into pure, cloying sweetness, driven by a sugar content that exceeds 57% of the total bar weight. You are paying $6.50 for a bar that is mostly sugar, dairy solids, and vegetable fat fractions, carrying the bare legal minimum of real cocoa. Mondelez did not invent global agricultural inflation, but they certainly perfected the art of charging Australian families more money for less cocoa, wrapping an ever-dwindling block in 100 years of borrowed goodwill. That is not tradition. That is a calculated corporate downgrade engineered directly into the nation's favourite chocolate bar. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it, because you do not have to abandon chocolate entirely to escape the palm oil race to the bottom. There are legitimate, accessible, and uncompromising chocolate makers sitting right on Australian supermarket shelves that still respect the craft, respect your wallet, and use genuine cocoa butter. We are ranking the 5 best options available across Australia, moving methodically from the absolute best everyday budget bargain to the ultimate pure cocoa powerhouse. First, ALDI Moser Roth exclusive. 70% and 85% dark chocolate. If you want proof that real, unadulterated chocolate does not require taking out a second mortgage, this is where you look. Moser Roth is ALDI's proprietary chocolate range, and its formulation puts multi-billion-dollar legacy brands to shame. Turn the stylish packaging over. The ingredients are strictly cocoa mass, sugar, cocoa butter, emulsifier, and natural vanilla extract. That is it. There is 0 palm oil, 0 shea fat, and 0 vegetable oil padding. Because it is sold through ALDI's streamlined logistics network across the country, a 125-gram pack containing 5 individually wrapped mini bars costs just $3.49. That works out to roughly $2.79 per 100 grams, making it significantly cheaper per gram than shrunken, palm-laden mass-market blocks at Coles or Woolworths. The snap is crisp and metallic, melting into a deep, earthy cocoa pool with subtle roasted notes and zero cloying aftertaste. For anyone seeking a daily, budget-conscious pantry staple that never compromises on ingredient integrity, Moser Roth is the undisputed value king of Australian retail. Second, Coles Finest and Woolworths Organic Dark Chocolate ranges. Both major Australian supermarket chains manufacture premium private label dark chocolate blocks that quietly blow the branded giants out of the water. Take the Coles Finest Single Origin Peruvian 70% Dark or Woolworths Organic 70% Dark. These blocks are produced using Single Origin, Certified Organic, or Rainforest Alliance certified cocoa beans. Look at the back panel: cocoa mass, organic cane sugar, and pure cocoa butter. They contain no filler fats, no artificial flavorings, and no chemical stabilizers. A standard 100-gram block retails between $4 and $4.50 at standard pricing, often dropping below $4 on regular catalog rotations. That translates to around $4 per 100 grams for pure single origin cocoa. When you bite into it, the difference is immediate. The texture is smooth and velvety, releasing fruity, floral cocoa tones rather than an onslaught of granulated cane sugar. Independent food technologist Dr. Sarah Lynn noted in a recent retail evaluation that Australian supermarket private label premium chocolate consistently outperforms top-tier commercial brands in pure cocoa mass percentage and lipid stability. It is the perfect accessible upgrade you can grab during your regular weekly shop without detour. Third, Lindt Excellence 70%, 85%, and touch of sea salt. Manufactured in Switzerland and France and stocked in every Coles, Woolworths, IGA, and Chemist Warehouse in Australia, Lindt Excellence is the gold standard of mainstream consistency. Lindt controls its manufacturing process from bean selection right through to final conching. The formulation across the Excellence Dark series remains pristine: cocoa mass, sugar, cocoa butter, and natural bourbon vanilla bean. They do not cut corners with cheap tropical vegetable fats. A standard 100-gram block typically retails for $5.50, but because it is one of the most frequently discounted items in Australian supermarkets, it regularly drops to $3.50 during weekly half-price specials. That works out to $3.50 per 100 grams for genuine European manufactured chocolate. The mouthfeel is exceptionally silky, delivering a balanced, slow-release bitterness with bright fruitiness and an immaculate, clean finish that leaves no greasy residue on your palate. It is universally available, endlessly dependable, and completely devoid of the sneaky reformulations plaguing its domestic competitors. Fourth, Whittaker's 33% creamy milk and 50% dark block. Hailing from New Zealand and fiercely family-owned since 1896, Whittaker's is widely available across Woolworths, Coles, and independent IGAs throughout Australia. This is where milk chocolate lovers find their absolute... Read their ingredients list: Ghanaian cocoa beans, pure cocoa butter, creamy whole milk powder, and natural vanilla, without a single milligram of palm oil or substituted vegetable fat. A 250-gram block retails for around $7.50, which equals $3 per 100 grams. That makes Whittaker's cheaper gram for gram than standard shrunken dairy milk at full price, despite delivering vastly superior ingredients. The chocolate is famously dense, thick, and ultra creamy, delivering a rich caramelized dairy profile underpinned by genuine cocoa depth. It has a hearty snap and a luxurious, slow melt that feels deeply satisfying. If you refuse to give up sweet milk chocolate but demand genuine quality and fair value, Whittaker's is the undisputed champion. Fifth, Tony's Chocolonely 32% milk and 70% extra dark. Available at Woolworths, Coles, David Jones, and independent grocers across Australia, Tony's Chocolonely exists to completely disrupt the global confectionery supply chain. Operating with a strict mission for 100% slave-free, traceable cocoa, Tony's pays direct premiums to West African farming cooperatives to ensure ethical wages. Their milk chocolate is formulated with 32% pure cocoa solids, whole milk powder, sugar, and pure cocoa butter, completely free of palm oil or cheap filler fats. A hefty 180-gram block costs around $8.50, working out to $4.72 per 100 grams. It is undeniably the most expensive option on this list, and and the brightly colored, chunky, unevenly divided block can be tough to break apart. But you are paying directly for uncompromising ethics, total supply chain transparency, and exceptionally rich, decadent chocolate. The milk chocolate delivers an intensely rich, fudge-like creaminess with profound cocoa resonance that makes mass-market confectionery taste like brown-colored wax. It is the ultimate conscious indulgence for those who want their dollars to support genuine human dignity alongside world-class taste. Now that you know what confectionery conglomerates are up to, take a screenshot of these 5 non-negotiable rules before you next walk into Coles, Woolies, or ALDI. First rule, inspect the fat source on the back panel immediately. Under Food Standards Australia and New Zealand regulations, pure chocolate relies on genuine cocoa butter. If you spot palm oil, shea oil, or fractionated vegetable oil anywhere in the fat breakdown, put the block straight back on the shelf. Second rule, watch out for evasion vocabulary on the front label. If the packaging uses terms like chocolate-flavored coating, choc compound, or smooth dessert bar, the manufacturer has stripped out cocoa solids below the legal standard. Third rule, check the primary ingredient order. Ingredients must be listed by incoming weight. If sugar or sucrose sits before cocoa mass or cocoa butter, you are paying confectionery prices for table sugar. Fourth rule, demand explicit cocoa percentages on milk chocolate. Real milk chocolate with authentic body sits at 30% cocoa or higher. Anything lower leaves room for excessive sugar and fillers. Fifth rule, calculate the true unit cost per 100 grams on the supermarket shelf ticket. Oversized cardboard gift packaging and puffed holiday bags conceal shrunken net weights designed to fool your eyes at checkout. The Australian confectionery industry did not change overnight because cocoa farmers demanded it. It changed because massive corporate boardrooms decided cutting cocoa, substituting cheap industrial oils, and shrinking block sizes was the easiest way to protect profit margins while relying on your brand loyalty. The moment you stop buying out of nostalgic habit and start reading the ingredient panel, their marketing tricks completely collapse. You hold the ultimate voting power in the supermarket aisle every single week. Thank you for watching and taking the time to see through the spin. Share this video with a mate or family member who still buys family chocolate blocks on autopilot without checking the label. Drop a comment below and tell me which of the brands we exposed today is sitting in your pantry right now. Keep an eye out for our upcoming expose on how Australian honey brands dilute their jars with imported corn syrup. Vote with your dollars, read the back label, and demand real food every time you shop.